have this spider's web thing in mind, that we are caught into your, as you say, the genuine art, that we are caught into it?
To be honest, when we are composing music, I don't think we really have the listener at all in mind. I think that the environment in which we compose is very far from any audience or any. We don't even think about it as songs for an album when we compose. It's a very intimate and very undefinable process. I've been trying to answer questions about the process of composition for days now, but I still find it hard to describe, you know. But I think the reason why the album works the way that you describe it is because that it's not a very superficial album in that sense. I mean, albums like or superficial, I don't know. It's not a very. It's a very rich album, you know. It contains so much that it takes longer time to absorb than, for example, Rain in Blood, you know, which is needless to say a great album, but it's Lawless is entirely different from that in that sense, because it's much less narrow. You know.
This new album has a guest appearance by Carl McCoy from Fields of the Nephilim. I'd like to know how it came about, obviously, and also, was it your idea? And because you're obviously a fan of the Nephilim and McCoy himself, so what was the story? Did it just come to you one day that you would try get in touch with McCoy?
I think that's an idea that's been. It's an old idea, in fact, but I didn't really know in what context to make it happen. You know, because on our previous albums there haven't really been any like obvious parts where a guest appearance by him would fit that well, you know. So I just kept it as an idea for I don't know how many years, but yeah, the idea came up. It came up again now when I was working on Waters of Watain, the last song of the album, and it was one of these songs that, I mean, some of the songs on the album took 2 years to write. That song took 3 days. You know, it just came together like that.
That's like 14 minutes.
Yeah, it's and by far the most ambitious musical thing that I've ever been involved with, I think. So I was working on the last part of the song, which can be described as a sort of farewell, if you will, like a. It's supposed to symbolize a departure, and it has a very like Fields of the Nephilim-ish touch to it. That last part, and I wanted the 4 last lines to be sung by someone else, because the person that the lyric is about should not be existing anymore when those lines are sung. It makes more sense when you read the lyric, but and I was thinking, like, who the fuck do we have to do it, you know, because it has to be someone that not only would have a fitting voice, but also that would have some kind of link to Watain, a more important link than just a guy we know. And then, of course, the idea of Carl McCoy came up, and in fact, you know, he was one of the artists that I think first inspired me to ever become a vocalist. You know, Fields of the Nephilim were one of the first bands that I really got deeply into, you know, together with Bathory maybe and well, Metallica before, but it was one of these bands that really, you know, got into my heart right away when I was younger, and in that sense it also creates a kind of circle, having him say my farewell sort of, yeah, on this very ambitious song, you know, and I don't know, it was the perfect place for him to do it.
And how difficult was it to get in touch with him, because he's kind of elusive?
Yeah, I had imagined the process of actually getting in touch and even more so convincing him. You know, I had imagined that process to be a bit more painstaking than it actually was, because somehow he. I began with sending him the part of the song that I had in mind for him, and the part of the lyric, just to give him something, you know, to take a stand towards. And he replied and said that he could be interested, but he wanted me to like elaborate. He wanted the whole song. He wanted the whole lyric. He wanted me to elaborate on, you know, on the meaning of the song, what it meant to me, and of course what the lyric was actually really about. And after having done that, it was just I don't know. It just fell into place. It seems for him. He said that, yeah, absolutely, we should actually do this, and that was that. You know, it was that's the thing that I would not really have wanted to reach a situation where I had to like really try to convince him to do it. You know,
Right.
I couldn't imagine having it like that. So when it happened, it's natural. That's also one of the reasons why we actually did it in the end.
Okay.
It seemed to be meant to be.
And so Fields of the Nephilim have been an important part of your, you know, musical evolution, like
Definitely.
you personally, yeah.
Definitely.
Which is your favorite album?
Elysium, I would say.
That's the perfect answer.
Yeah, but come on, you know,
Yeah.
it's
almost perfect, I think.
yeah, very close to perfect, and yeah, it's one of those albums that's really been like a soundtrack of my life. So you know, it sums up so much for me on a very deep level.
How can we bring danger back into black metal?
First and foremost, by not giving in to what I talked about with Paul earlier, claiming to represent something that you don't, because there will never be, I mean, someone who doesn't believe in anything doesn't have any reason to act for that nothingness either. If there is nothing to perform actions in the name of, then no actions will be performed. And I think that what will happen when people start to truly absorb Watain, it doesn't matter really where these people come from spiritually, it doesn't really matter what kind of standpoints that they had or will have after, but if they're willing to open themselves for something as forceful and as real as Watain is, then these things will also take a place in them, in their hearts, and eventually also manifest physically within the world. You know. And this is not something that could ever happen with bands and individuals that do not contain or do not have any relation to that said power. Black metal originates from a very dark and destructive source, which has manifested itself in thousands of different ways on Earth. And if you intentionally aim to channel this force into the world, and you do so because you yourself feel that this is the only thing that you're here to do, then the result will come. You know, there is no avoiding that. It's the law of cause and effect that exists within this universe.